Story 1. Back when Cody and I were in our early 20s, we took several camping trips around Colorado. I believe this particular incident happened when I was 22 and he was 23, up in the Arapaho forest. It was my first time camping there though, not Cody's. We went in the middle of the week. Our jobs allowed off days then, so we often avoided traffic and crowds on campouts. Cody always took charge on these trips. He's the Eagle Scout, not me. We parked near a picnic area and hiked into the woods. After about 15 minutes, we found a good spot, meaning a big enough clearing for 2 tents, the portable stove, and a campfire. First, we unpacked and set up the tents. Cody has always been much faster than me at pitching a tent, doing it in minutes, while it always took me over 20, or rather it always did take me that long, as I haven't camped in the wilderness since. Next, we made a stone ring for a fire and gathered sticks and wood. He brought fire starter and a lighter, so I guess we cheated a bit, but oh well. By the time the sun was going down, we had a fire going, and Cody was grilling steak and burgers. Cody always went all out with food on these trips and is a really good cook, so I trusted him to feed us. Of course, we had bear spray ready in case the food smell attracted a black bear, which Cody always said was very unlikely. He always said, the real thing to worry about in the woods is other people. As we ate our steak and burgers, we cracked open beers and played classic rock on a speaker. If you've never been camping, you don't understand how good the vibe is in moments like this in the wilderness with a friend or family member, beers in hand, reminiscing and vibing to music. When it got dark, we played card games on a little folding table we'd brought specifically for cards. After more traditional games, we started playing Uno. That's when we heard something out in the woods. I paused the song on my phone, silencing the speaker. It was clear now. We heard a person humming and footsteps beyond the trees in the pitch-black forest. Cody urged me to find the flashlight. By the time I found it, the sounds had faded. I asked Cody if that was concerning, and he said it was definitely unusual for someone else to be this deep in the woods, let alone creepily walking by a campsite with a campfire while humming loudly. I was shaken, and I saw Cody was too. We went back to playing cards with the music much lower. When we least expected it, a big stick landing in the middle of our campsite made us both jump out of our skins. It didn't fall from a tree. This thing was thrown at us. Cody started yelling something like, "Whoever's out there messing with us, get a life." Then, footsteps could be heard again in the distance, walking away. I said we should pack up camp and move somewhere else. He said absolutely not in the dark. We both had bear spray, and he advised me to just keep it next to me in my tent when we slept. It was the closest thing to ranged self-defense we had. We kept hearing sounds like tree branches cracking in the distance, sounds no animal would make. Someone was out there, maybe multiple people, that much was clear. We had to sleep eventually, so we agreed to take turns staying up to keep watch, to make sure no one came to steal anything, or worse. Cody agreed to take first watch. He said he'd stay up and read his book. I crawled into my tent and then my sleeping bag and went to sleep. Waking up in the middle of the night while camping is normal. You're in a cold outdoor environment in an uncomfortable bag. I didn't know what woke me up yet. I was still in a fog, my brain not fully awake. I looked up and saw a head peering into my tent. It looked like Cody. I rubbed my eyes, but it was the darkness preventing me from seeing his face clearly. I said, "Cody," thinking he was waking me for my watch turn. Groggily, I asked, "Is it my turn?" I stared at the head peering at me as I lay in my sleeping bag, slowly waking up more every second. Then I heard the tent zipper quickly zip up, and his head disappeared. I laid back down for just a second. Suddenly, I had a weird moment of clarity and shot upright, listening as footsteps walked away. "Cody," I said. He didn't answer. I unzipped my tent to peek out at the campsite. The fire was dead. Cody wasn't out there. I went over to Cody's tent, which was zipped up. I unzipped it and looked inside to see Cody fast asleep in his sleeping bag. I got chills, goosebumps, whatever you call it. I almost messed myself at the realization. I started shaking him awake. When he finally woke, I told him someone was at the campsite. It took him a minute to come to reality, just like me. When he did, he grabbed his bear spray. He said he must have dozed off while reading. He said I should sleep in the tent with him that night, but to do that, I needed my sleeping bag. He came outside the tent with me and stood watch as I ran to my tent to grab my bag. Inside my tent, grabbing my bag, I heard that goddamn humming again from outside. I grabbed it, and Cody whispered for me to hurry up. I said, "You hear that, too?" He said, "Yes." We both got back in his tent, zipped it up, with our bear spray cans by our sides. I tell you, in those moments, I wanted nothing more than for a bear to come save the day. The hours dragged on as I stayed up while Cody slept. After 3 long, horrible hours, I woke him up and we switched. When Cody woke me up, it was almost dawn. Light was outside. We packed everything up, and by the time we were done, there was plenty of light to hike back to the car. While we could have driven somewhere else for another night, neither of us felt like it anymore. This was a haunting experience. I think we both just wanted the safety of our houses. It's been 6 years, and he's hit me up a few times about camping since, but I haven't had interest. People are just too scary. Why was someone out there stalking our campsite? And the sight of that person's head in the dark, just looking into my tent, ... It was straight out of a nightmare. I may never go camping again. Story 2. Honestly, when I was scared as a kid, my dad always told me in life, don't be scared of ghosts. Fear the living because they can actually hurt you. In my late teens, I came into some money after my father committed suicide, and I received an inheritance. At the time of his passing, he and my mum owned a cabin up in Oregon by Mount Bachelor. The cabin was up for sale because my mum couldn't afford the payments anymore, and renting it out wasn't covering them either. The cabin was set to go on the market in less than a month and was finalizing paperwork with the realtor and lawyer. So, for that month, the cabin wouldn't be rented and would be vacant. I saw this as a chance to get away and clear my head with everything going on. I quit work, packed my snowboarding gear, grabbed my dog Midnight, and headed up in my dad's car to the cabin. My first 2 days were normal. I spent my days playing with Midnight in the snow and snowboarding, and evenings playing PlayStation, or listening to music, drinking and smoking out on the balcony. I'd stocked up on food, cigarettes, and liquor, so I was pretty much shut in, aside from the occasional outing to hit the slopes. With my dog's company and DVDs, PlayStation 4 entertainment, I was content and started to feel relaxed after all the drama. The cabin had 2 stories. The bottom had the living room, a side, guest bedroom, and a small kitchen. Upstairs had 2 more rooms with a walkout balcony attached to the master bedroom. Most of my time was spent in the living room, kitchen, or master bedroom. I never went into the other rooms and always kept those doors shut. The 3rd day came around, and I was doing my usual routine. It was a heavy snowfall, so instead of the slopes, I stayed in. That's when things started getting weird. In our area, only 2 other cabins were adjacent to ours, maybe a block away. All others were about a mile off, surrounded by forest and tall pine trees. Both neighboring cabins were empty, and from the past couple of days, I knew no one was staying there. Around midday, outside with my dog, I noticed what looked like footprints in the snow around our cabin. It was still snowing, so they looked semi-fresh, like someone had been there 20 to 30 minutes before. I thought maybe someone was staying in a nearby cabin I hadn't noticed, shoo-in like me. Alright, whatever. The footprints led away and disappeared, into the snow towards the denser trees. I disregarded them and went back inside. Nighttime came, and I decided to head to bed. Midnight was laying on the bed when I noticed his ears perk up to a listening position. He quickly jumped off and ran downstairs to the living room. I lay in bed, freaked out, and could hear him moving around back and forth downstairs. After around 5 minutes, he ran back upstairs and did his doggy dance, signaling he needed to pee or go out. Well, fine, I can't say no. We both went downstairs, to the outside driveway for him to do his thing. Only, he didn't want to pee. As soon as we were outside, he pulled his leash, trying to drag me where he wanted. He kept looking into the dense trees where the prints had been and sniffing the side of the house, looking up towards the roof. After he figured out I wasn't going where he wanted, he sat down and just stared into the darkness. Unusual for him, but alright. Maybe forest animals were out there he wanted to chase. I didn't want to chase anything, so I pulled him back inside, and we headed upstairs. About half an hour later, lying in bed, I heard what sounded like hooves walking on my roof. It was only about 6 steps. I rationalized it could be a pine cone falling or a forest animal, but the steps seemed spaced apart like a man-length stride, freaking me out. Midnight also heard the noise and ran to the balcony screen door, expecting me to let him out. Alright, I considered myself a tough guy, fairly built and strong enough to handle myself then. I grabbed my coat, shoes, cigarette, and flashlight and went out onto the balcony. Outside I lit a cigarette and canvassed the roof with my light. Nothing there. The snow was undisturbed. Weird. Was it all in my head? What about Midnight hearing it? Maybe he was feeding off my paranoia. I started to calm down and relax again. My eyes adjusted to the darkness as I smoked, staring at the stars and trees next to our cabin. That's when I saw it. In a tree a little taller than our cabin, about 20 feet from the balcony. I saw what looked like a man crouched in a squatting position between 2 branches. It looked really tall, like 8 or 9 feet, and really skinny. It squatted on one branch, its freakishly long white arms extended above its head, holding the branch above while its mouth was wide open with no expression. What the asterisk is that? I wasn't sure if I was really seeing this thing and stood staring. It sat there motionless. I noticed Midnight stand up and start pacing behind me, lightly barking. The thing still didn't move. I put my cigarette out, debating, shining the light its way, but something screamed in my head not to, so I walked backwards into the room, pulling Midnight with me. Once inside, I locked the door and shined the light where the thing was, but nothing was there. I shut the curtains to the screen door and retreated to bed. But later that night, I heard light tapping at the screen door, like someone tapping on the glass with fingers. It was consistent and didn't stop for nearly an hour. Midnight seemed to stare at the door but wouldn't go near it. The weirdest part was I had a feeling like someone was inviting me to open that door, but at the same time, I kept hearing my dad's voice in my head telling me to stay in bed and not do it. I listened to my dad's voice and stayed put. I passed out eventually and woke up in the morning. It didn't take me long to pack everything and get the hell out of there. Story 3. I was searching Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for a new phone. This was a long time ago. It had to be like an iPhone 7 or something. Phones still had home buttons then. I found a listing for a phone, some generic post, iPhone, whatever for sale, new, around $300. It was a really good deal for the time. I remember he told me all the details I needed to know. Factory unlocked, never opened, stuff like that. He sent me a video of the box too, still sealed. A guy, named Melvin, seemed nice and easy to talk to over text. I got his number, and we discussed a pickup point. His location on the Facebook ad was much closer, but over text, he said he was only there that morning and now was about an hour north. I wasn't happy, but it was a really good deal. I didn't want to pass it up. I started asking friends if they'd come on an adventure with me, really just a way to make the chore of accompanying me on an hour drive seem fun. My friend Martina agreed to come, on the promise I'd buy her food. This Melvin guy sent me the address of a police precinct about an hour away, saying he only does deals in police precinct parking lots to avoid scams. I obviously had no problem with that. It made me feel more confident. I picked up Martina around 8:30 at night, and off we went. Her being in the car, having someone to talk to, made the trip more fun. It was also a Friday night, so we could go out afterwards. When I got off the highway, we were about 10 minutes away and found ourselves in a very secluded, quiet area. It seemed like a lot of wooded areas with occasional buildings and houses, then more woods. We got to the police precinct. No one was visibly parked in the lot besides empty police cars. We drove around the whole building a couple of times and didn't see Melvin, who said he was in a black Altima. I decided to call him. He picked up and said he was having car trouble on the side of the road and asked if I could come to him. He sent his location. I checked it. He was on the side of some random road with nothing on either side, just woods. He asked me to come help jump his car. He had cables. I said, yeah, I guess. Since we drove an hour already. Martina was shaking her head the whole time I was on the phone. He said, "See you soon," and hung up. Martina basically screamed, "No way, this is sketchy. We're going home." I told her we'd just drive past the location he sent and see what's up. I agreed with her. It seemed incredibly sketchy, but I was upset about driving 2 hours for nothing. We drove to the location. When we got there, on the pitch black road, we saw the reflection of a car's front lights coming up. As we got closer, I slowed down. It was a black car, but we couldn't see anyone inside or outside. It was very dark, but we should have seen ahead. Martina said to keep driving. I agreed. It was about the sketchiest thing I'd ever seen. A pitch black road between two patches of woods, no street lights, no other cars, a pretty convenient place to break down and have someone coming with cash meet you. I drove right past it. Immediately, Melvin started calling me over and over. I ignored every call. Then he texted, "I saw you just pass me, why didn't you stop, turn around?" I ignored. Martina is very positive, so she laughed and said, "Okay, you owe me food." I looked up the nearest diner, and we stopped there. It was a quiet, small diner. We were just about the only people there, even on a Friday night. The waitress just took our coffee order when a lone guy with his hood up stepped in and sat at the bar stools. He wore a navy blue, dirty-looking hoodie. He glanced over at Martina and me, then looked straight ahead, talking to the lady behind the counter, apparently ordering coffee. The man kept glancing at our table like every minute. I whispered to Martina, "Don't look now, but that guy at the counter might be Melvin." The waitress came with our coffees, asked if we were ready to order. I said, "A few minutes, please." When the lady behind the counter handed the man his coffee, he said loud and clear, "Thank you, darling." It was the guy from the phone's voice, Melvin, or whatever his real name was. I told Martina, "That's him. We need to pay and leave." I waved the server over and whispered if we could just get the check. She asked if something was wrong, and I noticed the guy look over as I said this. I said, "Yes, we just needed coffee for the road." She got the check. I paid. We downed our coffees and left. We got in my car, and Martina said, "Oh my God, he's getting up." I looked into the diner and saw him leaving towards the door quickly. I drove us out and sped down the road. Yes, we noticed a black car in the lot that could have been the one we saw. I was driving too fast for him to catch up. We got back on the highway, and I was flying for a while until I got a low tire pressure light. I knew instantly he slashed my tire. The sigh was going down fast. To avoid damage, I pulled over. I went out to confirm the tire was slashed. I had to replace it with a spare, which took about 15 minutes. The whole thing was a disaster. And if you're wondering, yes, I still got Martina dinner that night. Now, Martina and I look back on it as a crazy story. It's absolutely horrifying how close we were to walking into a trap. Story 4. I was seeing this girl for a few weeks. We'd been on 2 dates. Her name was Phoebe. We matched on a dating app and met a few days later. She was 4 years older than me. Our first date was drinks. The second, we went out with my friends on a weekend. My friends had neutral opinions about her. They thought she was nice and kind of quiet. They'd later reveal their actual thoughts, but I'll get to that. Phoebe invited me to an upcoming high school reunion party. She said she didn't want to go alone, and honestly, after she hung out with my friends, I felt like I owed her. This reunion was on a random Saturday in the fall. It wasn't organized by her school. She said a rich guy from her class was hosting it at his house. I haven't had my reunion yet, but these things are usually held at bars or halls. We got to this guy's house. It was admittedly It had a gated driveway but no fancy cars parked anywhere. Maybe the owner parked his in the garage. The second we stepped inside, I felt like everyone was staring at us, more specifically, me. A few people came up to Phoebe, hugged her hello, then shifted attention to me. I felt almost interrogated by their questions, my life story, what I do, who I live with. Finally, Phoebe pulled us away to talk to more people, who also asked really personal, weird questions. There was also something about all the people. They seemed older than 28 Phoebe's age. Some looked well into their 30s. I commented on that. To Phoebe, she said, "Yeah, some aren't aging too well." I asked if she remembered all these people. She said yes. I then asked who the host was. I was curious to meet the owner. She said she hadn't seen him yet. The whole time I was there, I felt like everybody was shooting me daggers. They wouldn't look away. I whispered that to Phoebe. She said, probably wondering who I am. At the time that seemed logical. It's hard to explain the growing awkwardness. But I assure you, this wasn't a normal high school reunion. No music. Everyone dressed weirdly. Not like normal 28. None looked like they were in their 20s. I got uncomfortable with the stairs in the room we were in. So I told Phoebe I'd run to the bathroom, really just to get out and explore the house a bit. I didn't have a drink. Walking around this giant house empty-handed, anyone I passed stared at me. Feeling out of place is an understatement. I found the bathroom, stepped inside even though I didn't have to go, locked myself in just to sit and rither myself, take a break. I texted my friends how weird it was, wondering how to convince Phoebe to leave early. We'd been there 30 to 45 minutes. The mystery host was nowhere. Phoebe texted, "Where are you?" I replied, "In the bathroom. Give me a minute." Then I added, "This party is really weird. I'm down to leave soon." She said, "Why?" I said, "Everyone's being weird." Then someone knocked on the door, so I couldn't stay. Washed my hands quick and left. The guy waiting outside, who looked younger, said in a low voice, "You should leave. That girl isn't who she says she is." I froze, then said, "Phoebe," he said, "whatever she told you her name is." He asked what she told me this party was. I said, "A high school reunion." He smirked and said, "Do these people look like they're going to a high school reunion?" He left it with, "Trust me, leave sooner than later," then walked into the bathroom and shut the door. I almost knocked to get him to explain further, but I was already suspicious. That guy confirmed something weird was happening. I walked straight to the front door without drawing attention, still feeling stares as I walked. I walked straight to my car on the street and drove home. Phoebe texted, asking where I went. I didn't answer. When I got home, I looked up her number on white pages. That number wasn't associated with Phoebe. The name was Claire Foster. The address I picked her up at both times was different than the one on white pages. I realized I never saw her leave a house. She was always waiting on the sidewalk. I replied, "Had to leave, sorry," and blocked her number. My friends all made jokes. They told me they thought she was weird and off from the start but didn't want to tell me and make me feel bad. One joked it sounded like the movie Get Out. Friends and family had theories. Some thought I exaggerated until I told them about the fake name and the guy telling me to leave. It's absolutely horrifying. Story 5. This happened when I was a young child, maybe 8. My parents had me late. My 2 older siblings are at least 10 years older. One night, I was woken up to a commotion downstairs. It was my parents. I cracked my door open and heard them freaking out. Unsure what it was, I went to the stairway and stood at the top calling, "Mom, Dad." My mom came to the bottom and said, "Go back to bed." I listened without questions but could tell they were stressed. Trying to go back to sleep, I heard the front door slam shut. Dead silence. I presumed they left but didn't know why. I listened to Mum and went back to sleep. I woke up again to sounds downstairs. The front door closing and footsteps, but no talking. Naturally, I assumed they were back home, being quiet to not wake me. I heard occasional steps and thuds, drawers and cabinets opening and closing, and I'm sure I heard the fridge opening too. I thought it was my older brother, Chris, 10 years older, coming home late around 2 a.m. and rummaging wasn't abnormal. These were logical explanations, I told myself. Eventually, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. getting louder and closer, reaching the top and heading first thing to my door. My door quietly and slowly opened. I didn't sit up or move. I just lay there, eyes open, facing the door. No lights were on outside. Whoever walked around did so in the dark. All I saw was a black mass in the doorway, resembling a head shape. I said every name: Chris, Mum, Dad. Then, who's there? No reply. They just closed the door. I was confused but mildly creeped out. Footsteps went downstairs. I was convinced it was my dad now, just checking on me after getting home, though unsure why he ignored me. I didn't hear anything for a while. Curiosity got the better of me. I went downstairs in the dark, keeping lights off. Approaching the kitchen doorway, I froze, noticing a tall figure standing right in the middle of the kitchen. "Dad," I said, assuming based on size. A deep voice said, "Go back upstairs." I ran back up to my room, closed the door, jumped under the covers, thinking, why did Dad's voice sound like that? The reality of a stranger didn't dawn on my innocent mind until later, when I heard the front door open and commotion again. My parents' voices. I went to the top of the stairway. They were shocked I was awake. I asked what happened. They said Chris had a little accident, but would be fine. Months later, I found out he'd had a car accident driving in a condition he shouldn't have. My parents got a hospital call and rushed to see him, leaving me asleep. When I asked Dad if he'd come in my room before, I learned they'd been gone for hours. Mum freaked out, yelling at Dad because he'd neglected to lock the door when they rushed out. Me telling them about the person at my door and in the kitchen caused Dad to search the house with his gun, and Mum to call police. The last thing I remember was telling my story to a police officer. My parents felt like morons explaining they left me alone and unlocked. I don't think anything valuable was stolen, though whoever broke in clearly didn't intend harm. Having a stranger in your house is terrifying. Imagine going through that at 8 years old. Story 6. I once worked as a direct care aide for a 65-year-old woman with a developmental disability. Her daughter, Colleen, 40s, worked overnights and needed a medically experienced caretaker overnight. Once worked means literally one night. You'll hear why I never went back. The woman's name was Martha. Colleen contacted me. Maybe Colleen had no other family to watch her, couldn't afford a nursing home, or felt more comfortable hiring someone experienced. At the time, I was already a direct care worker for 2 other women with developmental disabilities. So I had experience, but nothing prepared me for that night. Colleen left for work earlier that day. I worked my first job, pushing my body to exhaustion. Colleen introduced Martha and me. Martha smiled before Colleen brought her upstairs to her bedroom around 9 p.m. Colleen told me Martha would sometimes walk around confused at night. I'd need to calm her down and bring her back. She specified it wasn't sleepwalking. It was a dementia symptom. I assured her I'd handle it. I spent time in the living room catching up on a show. These jobs involve a lot of sitting. I heard footsteps upstairs, went to the stairway, called Martha's name, asking if she needed anything. No answer. Heard footsteps go back to her room, door closed. Maybe she went to the bathroom, went back to the living room. Maybe an hour later, I got up to grab my sandwich from the fridge. Leaving the kitchen with the plate, I nearly had a heart attack and dropped it when I saw Martha standing at the doorway. Glass shattered everywhere. I apologized, asked if she was okay. She started yelling, "Who are you?" I reminded her I was her caretaker, here to help. She screamed, "Why are you here? I don't know you." I reminded her we'd met, that Colleen hired me. This calmed her briefly enough to get her back upstairs to her room. I brought her a glass of water and some melatonin, and Kazam's sleep aid, made sure she took both, then went back downstairs. Hours later, exhausted, I needed shut-eye. There was a spare bedroom upstairs with a twin bed Colleen said I could use. Feeling Martha was asleep from the melatonin, I fell asleep fast. Slept only maybe an hour. Woke up to a repeated slamming sound from downstairs, every 1 to 2 seconds. Jumped out of bed. I'd left the door open to hear things. Getting to the stairs, I realized it came from the kitchen. Walked down as quietly but quickly as I could. Peering around the kitchen opening, I saw a scene from a scary movie. Martha in the darkness, standing in front of the oven, repeatedly opening it and slamming it shut. Horrifying, I only saw her silhouette. It was that dark. "Martha," I said, loudly. She stopped, turned left towards me, shut the oven door one final time, and started walking towards me towards the stairs. In a scared voice, I asked, "Are you okay?" She got close enough for me to see her face. Blank expression. She walked right past me and started upstairs. I followed, but she slammed her door shut when she got to her room, knocked. "Martha, are you alright?" No response. Quietly opened the door to peek. Martha stood at the side of her bed, facing the wall. Unsettling behavior, like scary movies. I walked over, gently eased her into bed, covered her, said goodnight, Martha, hoping it was final, and shut her door. Went across to the spare room, back to bed, tried not to fall asleep for half an hour but did quickly. Woke up again later, room pitch black. My 1 hour alarm hadn't gone off. Looked around, wondering what woke me. Heard a sound from inside the closet, then noticed the cracked open closet door and a black shadow of a head peeking out. Almost had another heart attack. "Martha," no answer. Kept saying Martha until she pushed the door open and approached the bed slowly, saying, "Who are you? I don't know you." As she got closer, I tried calming her, reminding her who I was. Reached for the lamp next to the bed, fumbled until it turned on. Martha was holding a huge kitchen knife. At that moment, everything changed. Martha was a threat. I screamed, "Martha, put the knife down." My scream stressed her. She got closer, screaming back, "I don't know you." I wasn't calming down a knife-wielding dementia patient. Mapped a way to run around her, jumped off the bed on the side away. From her, she screamed, "Who are you?" and swung the knife slowly and weakly at the air as I ran past, showing intent. Got downstairs, grabbed my shoes, went outside, called Colleen, as requested for issues, instead of 911, to avoid police involvement. Colleen yelled at me not to leave. I yelled back she tried to kill me and I hadn't called police. She had to leave work. I stayed outside, making sure Martha didn't leave until Colleen returned. When Colleen went in, Martha was asleep in bed. Colleen accused me of exaggerating until she found the knife next to Martha's bed. To not give her fuel to blame me, I left. Out that I ever slept, but I didn't feel I did anything wrong. Colleen offered that room. I never worked in that house again. Martha was the scariest patient in my 9 years as a direct care aide. Story 7. When I was 23, I had to move out of state for work. I still work for them, but moved back to my hometown later. At the time, I needed affordable living. I posted on all websites for a roommate: Facebook, Craigslist, Twitter, my neighborhood, subreddit. A guy named Rob reached out on Facebook saying he had a room. I looked at his pictures. He seemed normal. I was open to a male roommate if they seemed okay, though my parents were against it. Rob and I FaceTimed. He gave a virtual tour. He owned the place outright, a modest house in town, 10 minutes from my office. He seemed nice, no bad vibes. Price and rules were fair. Available immediately. Perfect. Settled. A week later, packed, drove down, met Rob out front. He greeted me, handed me a key. First thing I noticed, he was really short. I leveled with me. He helped bring heavier bags. Inside showed me my room, already furnished. He said a friend recently moved out. I replaced pillows and sheets. The rest of the day was settling in. Rob tried to get to know me, make me feel at home. Not overly friendly yet. Next day, Sunday, Rob offered to drive me around town. Not eager, but said sure. He showed shopping centers, restaurants, then offered lunch, almost like a date. I said not hungry. He immediately suggested drinks instead. Politely shot it down. I don't drink on work nights. He pushed, "Come on, just a couple." Politely declined. Another time he gave up, went quiet, seemed upset, slightly uncomfortable. First work week, focused on adjusting. A few days in, got home, did laundry. Noticed my hamper seemed moved. Clothes weren't how I left them, loading the washer. I noticed a pair of underwear missing. Checked my room top to bottom 5 times. Gone. Disturbing thought. What if Rob refused to believe it? No way I'd confront him. Started wishing for a lock. That weekend bought a lockable doorknob from Ace Hardware. While Rob wasn't home, swapped it out. Now I could leave in peace. Planned to tell Rob next time I saw him. He didn't come home that night. Random schedule. That night, awoke to banging on my bedroom door. Rob, saying my name, not happy. Checked time. 1:30 a.m. Decided to pretend asleep. Scared to open, feeling it was about the doorknob. Right next morning, woke to texts. We need to talk. Be home after work. Responded, about the doorknob. He replied, yes. Apologized. Said planned to tell him. He replied, it comes off. Today. Getting nasty. Weird vibes. Next response. Thought out. Hoped he'd sympathize. I'm a girl. Feel safer with privacy. He responded slightly nicer but still said no. Old doorknob, back on. Confused, upset, but had to respect his rules. I installed it without asking, but how did he know? He must have tried coming in that night. Scared me. Changed the doorknob back the next day. Returned to Ace. Things went downhill. Knock at the door one day when Rob wasn't home. A girl my age asked if I lived with Rob. I said yes. She warned me to get out immediately. Rob has multiple restraining orders. Known dangerous creepy stalker. Lost for words. Asked how she knew I was here. She knew he was renting. Not surprised he opted for a girl. Saw me moving in. Waited till he wasn't home to warn me. Thanked her. Terrified. Paid Rob for the month. Didn't know what she offered. Help. Took her number. Started packing. Looking for other places. Found a studio apartment sublet across town for more money. Contacted the poster. Could move in ASAP. Perfect. Now needed to tell Rob. Get money back. Started packing stuff into my car. Texted him I had to move out tomorrow. Family issue. Needed home. No answer. He got home an hour later. Asked about the text. Gave best fake story. He said he'd give the money back tomorrow after the bank. Relieved. An hour later, knocked. Did some girl say something to you? Said no. What? He said, never mind. Seems like you're running away for another reason. Insisted family reasons. He said okay. Left. Sadly, story didn't end. Woke up that night, screamed. A black figure sat on the end of the bed. Rob turned, put hand on my mouth. She, oh, please don't hurt me. Why would I hurt you? I knew someone said something. Don't believe these girls. You're scaring me. Insane. He started caressing my leg and said, I don't mean to scare you. Right after I said he was scaring me. Got out of bed, ran for the door. He screamed to stop. Ran outside with phone. Called police. Hid in a bush until they came. Explained. Everything. They made Rob come out, give his side, told them I just wanted my stuff and to leave. Cops stayed while I collected the rest of my stuff. Brought to court, insisted Rob give money back while police there. He did. The whole time police were there, he acted like a normal dude. One officer pulled me aside. Said this guy had been arrested before for incidents with women. But Rob denied coming in my room or touching me. It was he said, she said. Left. Went straight to a hotel. Next day, moved into the studio. The girl facilitated quick move-in. I have never, and will never, live with another man who's not my boyfriend or husband. Or Story 8. I was home alone one night. Family gone. I was 15 or 16. A big gamer then. Obsessed with StarCraft. This was just before COVID lockdown. Playing StarCraft in my bedroom on the first floor. Doorbell rang twice. Hurried to the door. Not wanting to be away from the game too long. Got to front door. Said, who is it? Soft, weak voice outside said something I couldn't hear. Sounded like a woman. Opened the door with the storm door still between us. An older woman stood there with a big smile, hands behind her back, said through the door, can I help you? She said she needed to use a phone, asked to come inside. Taught since little, never let strangers in, including women. Felt awkward, didn't know how to turn her away. Redirected her to the library a few blocks down, knowing it was closed. She was still smiling, but what she said next didn't match. That's very rude to turn away an old lady asking for help, replied. Parents don't allow strangers in. House rule. Slowly started closing the door, saying sorry. She stood there, not moving, still smiling, but it suddenly felt menacing. Walking back to my room, doorbell rang again. No way opening. She radiated weird vibes. Maybe something wrong, not all there. Selfish, but not opening door alone. Went back to game. Not long after sitting down, heard tapping on the window, a clinking metal sound. Window directly in front of my desk. Blind pulled down, couldn't see, only room with light on. Horrible thought. The old woman walked to my window. Terrified, turned off computer sound. Didn't care about game, clinking persisted. Basically said screw this. Left for a different room, dark living room. Sat there. Doorbell rang again. She was harassing me. Tried convincing myself, not a threat, just crazy, clueless. Rang second and third time. Decided to open. Ask if I could call someone for her. Opened door. Now a man outside, about 10 years younger. Said through storm door, "Have you seen my mother?" Replied yes. She came just before. He apologized. Said she has dementia. Got out. Felt bad. He asked if he could come in for a minute. Awkward again. Why inside? Said same thing. Talk through door. Added I thought she went into backyard, heard window noise. Told him he could go around back to check. He thanked me. Walked down walkway. Thought he went back. When I looked out back window, saw nobody, not him or his mum. Too weird. Went to bed early, TV on, fell asleep. Heard clinking on window again. Remembered the man. Decided to try help. Went to window. Lifted blind with hand. Saw that woman outside with the same creepy smile, tapping a kitchen knife on the window. Closed blind, crawled back into bed, didn't feel real. Suspiciously short time later, doorbell rang 4 times, clinking stopped. Too suspicious. Felt like robbery attempt. Ignored doorbell, stayed in bed, waited it out. Finally stopped. Next morning, told dad. He said I was smart not to open. Everyone agreed it sounded like attempted robbery. Chance she had dementia. He was concerned, son. Maybe, but seemed coordinated. Why come inside? How know she came here? Why not go into backyard? Unanswered questions. Believe I avoided something terrible. Story 9. This happened long ago. Details blurry. Last day of school. 4th grade. 4th grade was the last year kids needed pickup. 5th graders walked home. Mom always picked me up last day. Friend Dennis and I had a playdate planned. Dennis wasn't in my class. Friends since kindergarten. Different dismissal hall. After school, lined up. Walked to exit door, waited outside. By teacher, Miss Blue. Waited for Dennis's dad. Heard my name, Tommy. Tommy. Looked over, man waving. Approached. Introduced himself as Dennis's uncle, picking me up. Went to Miss Blue, said I was being picked up. She asked, "Where is he, sweetie?" Pointed, uncle waved. Miss Blue dismissed. Me, went with the man. He led through crowd. Jittery, fast talker, slight stutter. Walking incredibly fast. Hard to keep up. Explained his brother Dennis's dad working late, driving me back. Got to car, dark red hatchback. Took this long to acknowledge. Where was Dennis? Why not pick him up too? Man looked back. Said Dennis was already at his house. Shy around adults. Not one to speak mind, but very confused. Dr. Man kept yapping. Stories, questions about sports, school. Guest drive was 10 minutes. Houses close in town. Mine 5-minute walk. We were in unfamiliar area. Parked in front of a house. Let inside. Shut door. Locked it. Really dark inside. Curtains shut. Only dim lamplight. Looked at me. Smiled. Where's Dennis? He acted jittery. Nervous. Oh, downstairs playing video games. Give me a second. Wait here. Disappeared into nearby room. Heard door open. Footsteps descending basement. Heart racing. New danger. Went to door. Tried quietly open. Locked. Needed key. Panicked. Still held hope. Dennis coming up. Regretted entering. Did only thing. Went to kitchen. Found wall phone. Picked up. Dialed 911. Whispered first thing. Please, come to this house. I've been kidnapped. They acknowledged. Didn't say another word. Hid phone under towel in corner, 911 still online. Hurried back to where man left me, heard footsteps coming back up, called my name. Come down, Dennis down here. Pause, repeated name. When no answer, came up, looked at me, asked if okay, felt sick, scared, hated myself for walking in, asked in scared voice if could leave, change in face, friendly smile disappeared, realized I wasn't falling for it, walked closer gently until close enough, grabbed my wrist aggressively, pulled towards basement, screamed, cried. He screamed, I'll let you go if you stop and behave. So I listened, went downstairs. Halfway down, door slammed shut behind, locked, walked fully down to empty unfinished basement, concrete floor, one support beam, depressing yellow glow from one exposed light bulb, place you'd imagine kidnapped children, heard heavy footsteps upstairs, heard everything, walking around, came to basement door, opened, called down, hungry, replied no, didn't want him in kitchen, see missing phone, shut door, locked again, sat down, heart in throat, heard it, doorbell ringing 3 times upstairs, then banging police, refrained, screaming until heard front door open, never, heard man's footsteps approach door, doorbell kept ringing, bangs continued, finally, loud bang sound, multiple heavy footsteps, screaming voices, started screaming for help, top of stairs, banging on door, door unlocked, police officer grabbed, hold, hurried outside, 3 cop cars, told everything to 2 cops, waited parents, man brought outside, into cop car, handcuffs, last saw him, parents arrived, mum bawling, seen at school, cops called, Dennis's dad realized what happened, man was work associate of Dennis's father, somehow learned Dennis's dad picking us up, seized opportunity, complete sicko, don't know how he knew what I looked like, older, never asked more details, try not to think, mum took me to counseling for months, parents didn't have kind words, for Miss Blue not verifying, if I hadn't called police before he threw me in basement, I know I'd be dead. About 17 years ago, that man might be out of prison. Story 10, New Year's Eve 2020. Ready for the horrible year to be over. Friend Logan, throwing a house party, arrived early to help set up. Secured spot to sleep in his parents' room, could drive, drink, not worry. Parents not home. Most close friends came, plus Logan's friends I didn't know. Party fun, midnight. Everyone screamed Happy New Year, cheered. People slowly circulated out, party quieted as people went to other parties, bars or home. Later, just closer friends staying until chill drinking session in living room went on late. Likely 3 a.m. when last non-sleepers gone. Has quieted down, started hearing occasional sound. At first dismissed as fridge or appliance, soon sounded like creaking, bothered, searched, went to kitchen, not there. Realized near basement door, it came from downstairs. Logan opened door, heard creaking, go check, I said, no way, he said, called down, yo, who's down there? Creaking stopped, never heard again, waited a minute, agreed, go down together. Both grabbed knives drunkenly, bad idea, could hurt selves. Bottom of stairs, searched entire basement, not huge couch, TV, bar, table, old junk, messy. Searched crevices for someone hiding, tried figure out sound, noticed rocking chair, went up, sat in it, started rocking, made exact same creaking sound. Logan and I looked at each other, stood up, every hair on body stood, ran faster than ever upstairs, slammed door shut, tried logical explanations, none. He kept basement door locked days until parents back. No living soul down there, but something moved that rocking chair. It belonged to Logan's grandma, passed long ago. Moem kept for sentimental reasons. Never experienced anything paranormal before or since. Still sends chills.